Taylor, just what makes him so explosive and so effective?
Well, it's a really strong offense led by Phillips Rivers, a Hall of Fame quarterback. And when you watch Jonathan and some of the things he's doing in the run game, man, it doesn't look like a rookie out there. He's pretty special. The runs he had yesterday in the game against Jacksonville, you can see the strength, his power, speed to run away from people, the ability to make people miss. He's a dynamic young back, and we'll have our hands full trying to.
Is there any back that you guys have faced this season that you can maybe compare his style of play to?
I'm not sure. I mean, we've seen some pretty good backs this season, but I think he's unique because of the blend of power and speed. You don't always see. You see guys who have one or the other, but the ability also to make people miss, really good coming, and that kind of puts him in a separate group in a lot of ways. He's kind of unique.
Awesome. Thanks, Leslie. Appreciate it.
Hey, Leslie, how are you?
Hey, man.
So, you bring up the challenges you guys face against this offense. And, one of the things that jumps out, I've been able to go back and watch a couple of their games really quickly here, is that interior of their offensive line with Quentin Nelson, obviously, but really all three of those guys, Kelly and Glowinski too. Talk about the challenge that, that poses, and, Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson, Vernon Butler, what they have to do to be successful in this game.
Yeah, you're right about their offensive line. It's really good. I know they've lost Costanzo, but the interior is outstanding. And that's one of the reasons they're running the football so well, for sure, because of the offensive line. So it will present some challenges for our defensive line. We're going to have to do a great job of playing with good pad level and finding ways to separate from blocks. And this offensive line has done a great job of neutralizing good defensive lines, and we'll be challenged. The way they've run the football the last few weeks, they put a lot of pressure on your defense to stop the run, which can open up some things in the passing game. So our defensive line will have to really be on our P's and Q's in practice this week, really be good from a technique and fundamental standpoint.
We talked to Brian a little bit about, the potential distractions, like when, you're a coordinator and head coaching interviews and whatnot. And he really didn't want to get into it for obvious reasons, but I wanted to ask you, being around him for 3 years, what have been your impressions of Brian, and what kind of head coach would he make?
I think Brian would do an excellent job as a head coach. Just being around him and seeing how he handles players and how he deals with the various responsibility that comes along with being an offensive coordinator in the National Football League. He's able to balance the good with the bad, which is what you have to be able to do in our league, and yet still be the type of leader that the players can look to. He's displayed those qualities in our time here.
Thanks a lot, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Leslie, John Morrow, AP.
Hey, John, how you doing, man?
Good. And yourself? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Without taking anything away from how the defense has been playing, how much easier, perhaps easier, how much easier is it for a defender to kind of be able to pin your ears back and attack when the offense is putting up 4 touchdowns, in one quarter, and forcing an opponent to become essentially one-dimensional and have to play catch up?
Well, that's ideal. I mean, that's the way every defense would love to see it play out, and hopefully we can continue that. You'd love to be in that position more often than not. And fortunate for us, we've had some games like that, and you just like to see it continue.
And how much do you reflect back on what happened in Houston, and the stinging memories of that, and going into this weekend, and knowing that at least you might have an offense that is capable, as Brandon Beane vowed, capable of scoring more points?
Yeah, in our league, John, every year is different. Every team is so different. Reflect a little bit on a year ago, but we're a much different team in so many ways than a year ago. So not a lot of reflection. It's just a lot of focus on this opponent and how they operate and what they're trying to get accomplished. And you trust that, we'll be ready for the challenge, because this will be a different type of challenge than a year ago with a different team in so many ways.
And just one last thing, we've heard from Micah Hyde and I think one other defensive player saying how much they learned from that Arizona game and how that ended and how much that motivated them to play better and become a better team. How valuable, as difficult as that loss was, how valuable was it for your defense?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's one I've thought about a lot. I thought about it on the plane ride from Arizona. I remember an opponent, I won't mention the name, but I saw how they lost a game on and you guys will probably remember this. They lost a game on one of those plays where the offense throws it around and one of the players ends up catching it and scores a touchdown. And that team went on to play in the Super Bowl that year, the team that lost that game. It was the last play of the game, similar to the Hail Mary. And they ended up going to the Super Bowl. And I said to myself, if you handle this the right way, if we handle it the right way, this could turn out to be a positive instead of a negative. And that was going through my mind. It didn't have to be one that carried over to the next and affected the rest of your season. And to our players' credit, I think they rebounded obviously very, very well and responded to a very, very difficult loss in a positive way. And it's kind of been an impetus for everyone to kind of, stick to guns and just continue to work as hard as you can. And that's what they've done. And just really proud of our players and the way they responded. I mean, that was a hard loss for a lot of reasons, and didn't let it hold them back. And one sense of the word, and I think it improved us overall, without question.
Thanks, Leslie.
Hey, Leslie, it's John. Midway point of the season, we were asking you weekly about the run defense, and it seemed we were hearing shades of gap integrity again, like we are so accustomed to dating back to last season. The statistics at least show that you guys have been much improved in that area. How much is it fundamentals, or I guess just what is the reason for that improvement in stopping the run?
Might not want to hear this, John, but gap integrity matters in the run game. When you are assigned to a gap, like we're such a big one gap defense in so many ways when it comes to stopping the run. When you get out of your gap or you don't tackle well, you're usually not going to play good run defense. And there were times when we were struggling against the run in 2020 and other years as well. That's usually the culprit. We're usually out of our gap, or we're not tackling well, or we're not taking good angles to the football, which are things that you have to be fundamentally good at. We are, we're a much better run defense. Well, the same thing is going to be true this weekend when we play Indianapolis. If we can do a good job of being where we're supposed to be in our gaps and then being able to separate from blocks and tackle, that'll help us to slow down this run game. If we're not doing that, could be a long day defending their run game, because they do a good job of running the football, obviously.
I just want what the right answers are. If it's repetitive, that's fine. But how much also is it the improved health of Tremaine and the improved health of Matt on that second level behind the front?
Oh, that's a big difference. I mean, having Tremaine healthy, that was a point where that shoulder was bothering him so much that, it was great to have him out there, but he was definitely just a shell of himself in a lot of ways. And, obviously without Matt being on the field, it's a bit of a drop off, although AJ did a great job in a lot of areas, but it's great to have Matt back. That does improve our defense, and having those two guys playing at full strength or close to full strength has made us a better defense for sure.
And then just quickly, obviously, I would assume you guys looked at Jonathan Taylor through the draft process. How is his NFL game, especially of late, compared to what you guys saw on film? Certainly the numbers were pretty eye-popping.
I didn't study him as much, but Sean went through our study about him earlier today, went through it with me and what our scouts thought of him. And what he thought of him as well when they were taking a look at him for the draft. And, you know, we gave him high marks all the way around. And everybody, you know, thought that he would be a really good NFL back. I don't think any of our scouts or any of our coaches that had a chance to take a look at him on the offensive side are surprised at what he's doing. He's a really good player at the University of Wisconsin as well. So continue that, obviously, at our level also.
Thanks, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Hi, Leslie. Matt Fairburn here.
Amen.
I know it's been a little while since you played against Frank Reich and the Colts, but what did you learn from that 2018 game? I know Andrew Luck was there and the teams are completely different, but what did you learn about Frank, his scheme and him as a play caller in that game?
Probably a few different things that stick out, but one that sticks out is that they will go for it on fourth down from just about anywhere on the field. So you just got to stay on your toes with that. And they are committed to running the football. You know, Frank being a quarterback who you would think that it's going to be the opposite. You know, he's going to be throwing around the ballpark all day long. But no, they're committed to running the football, and that helps to set up their pass game, and it really feeds their pass game. So you have to understand that and go into it knowing it's going to be important to defend the run, but yet be sound in the pass game, because they can definitely hurt you passing the football with a Hall of Fame quarterback and an outstanding wide receiver in T.Y. Hilton. But that's probably the thing that sticks out about Frank, his commitment to running the football and building their offense through their offensive line, which, you know, you wouldn't think that would be the case with a former quarterback, but that's the approach they've taken, and it's really worked out well for them.
How much, if at all, do you go back and look at that game to pick out anything that maybe hurt you, or that's something he might go to or something?
Yeah, we'll go back and look at it for sure. I mean, we didn't do a lot of things well that day, but
Yeah.
We'll go back and look at it and just see what they might want to come back to. And hopefully we'll be better around this time on some of those things.
And what can you say about the year that Mario Addison had and what he brought to your defensive line?
Yeah, Mario has really been good for us. Unfortunately, you know, we didn't have a chance to work with him in the offseason other than through Zoom. So, you know, we missed that time of getting to know him a little bit better and bonding a little bit. But once we got to training camp and we were able to be around each other, you know, just so impressed with his leadership, Matt, and how he acclimated himself with his teammates. You know, he's an accomplished pass rusher in our league, but he didn't come in looking for favors or looking to be treated a certain way. You know, he came in, rolled up his sleeves, and just worked as hard as he could to understand how we did things and what our culture was like, so that he could fit in and find his place. And you know, I applaud him for that. And he's been really good throughout the season, making big plays for us and preparing the right way. He's helped our football team a lot, helped our defense a great deal.
Thanks, Leslie.
Hey, Leslie, it's Jay with the Buffalo News. Last week, Micah said when you go up against a guy like Tua, a young quarterback, in his words, he wanted to make things sticky for him, which he meant kind of confuse him and throw a lot at him. When you look at this, and Tua after the game said that in a lot of ways that you guys were successful in doing that. When you look at this week's game, Philip Rivers, 39 years old, you're probably not going to be able to confuse him too much. So knowing that you're going up against a guy who has seen pretty much every defense you could throw at a quarterback, how does that alter your approach when you're developing a game plan?
Yeah, Jay, it definitely makes a difference. You're right. You're probably not going to trick Phillip at all, or if so, maybe once or twice in a game, if that. So you really got to be good at what you do, even when he knows where you're going to be and what that probably signifies. You just got to be able to execute at a high level, because you know, you're not going to probably be able to steal very many plays by tricking him. So our execution has to be on point with what we're doing, and that's what we'll work on in these days leading up to the game, our execution and what we do from a defensive standpoint.
And then Ed Oliver, just how did you feel like he closed out the regular season? You know, there was a lot made of his start to the year, and you talked a little bit about how the injury had impacted maybe his effectiveness at times. Just how did he look over maybe the second half of the season and just finishing the year?
I thought he finished strong. I mean, he had a play yesterday. This is one of those where it goes back to our conversation a few weeks ago when we were talking about how Ed has been a disruptive force, and people have to really pay attention to him. There was a play yesterday where they threw a wide receiver screen, and they had like 2 or 3 blockers out there. One of our guys misses a tackle, and Ed comes out of the stack from the line of scrimmage and gets a big hit and a stop that gets us off the field on 3rd down. And it's one of those plays that a lot of people don't pay attention to, but it was a big play. It forced a punt. We end up with good field position. I'm not sure if we scored or not off of that, but without his hustle and his effort, which is what he's given us throughout the year, which doesn't show up in the stat line. I mean, that's one of the pluses about Ed. He's going to make plays that may not be the sack, but they help our defense be successful. And he's played hard. He's played well. He's been a guy that the offensive line has to account for. And made a bunch of big plays for us this year. Just, maybe not enough splash plays for the general public, but he's been really good for our defense for what we've asked him to do. Really good.
Thank you, Leslie.
Welcome.
Hi, Leslie. It's Kim Jones from NFL Network. I apologize. I joined late. Sorry about that.
It's all right, Kim.
I had 2 for you, if I may. Against a really good O-line and obviously a great running game, how much does it help to have 2 3-down linebackers?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to make that decision as you get ready for the ball game. If you want to play with 3 linebackers and against a run game like this, we've done that at times where we decided that's the approach we want to take, and it's been effective for us, and that's a decision that we'll have to make as we get ready for this ball game as well. But it allows you to sometimes get your best personnel on the field when it comes to stopping the run, and for us, we'll have to make that determination what's best for us.
And my second question, if I may, how would I correctly describe how much your defense has improved from the beginning of the year till now?
So how would you describe
it? Well, how would you describe it? And I would obviously use your words. I was just trying to be, I guess, kind of funny there, and it wasn't.
Okay. Well, Dennis Locke, our analytics guy, usually gives me some numbers, like in 4-game breakdowns, Kim. And he gave me some numbers. I haven't looked at them today based on yesterday's game, but prior to this game, from week 6 to yesterday's game, I think we were like top 10 in multiple categories, and top 5 in other categories. It was just, I showed it to our players. I showed them early in the week just how improved they were as a group, which is a testament to their willingness to work hard on the things we thought we needed to improve on. And the takeaways, points allowed, 3rd down, yards. I mean, it was just so many areas where we were a top 10 defense after the first 6 games of the season. It was just blew me away. And so I had to show it to them. And so I don't know what word to use to describe the fact that our guys definitely they've made improvement throughout the year, which was the goal coming into the season, knowing that this was going to be a different type of year. And you've heard me say it many times, Kim, the goal was to be playing your best in November and December into January. And our guys have really done that. They continue to improve as the year's gone on.
Leslie, if I may, I know this is a third, so I apologize, but I thought of you in watching the highlights of your game when Josh Norman made that play, because I thought back to the stiff arm and the conversation you and I had. Are you a believer that players who overcome adversity, whatever form that takes, are then better in the long run and better for a team in the long run?
Oh, absolutely. You're going to face them, especially at the corner position. You're going to face adversity of some sort. I mean, that's just the nature of that job. But other positions as well. And you need to find out as a coach and a teammate how that guy's going to respond to adversity, because it tells you a lot about the future of that player and how he will be able to contribute to your team and in that locker room as well. So to see Josh bounce back and play as well as he's played here down the stretch for us is a good sign for our team, good sign for him as well. But it's really good to see. But that's something you're gauging as a coach, because you know that guys are going to have some ups and downs, and how they handle that and how they respond to it it tells you something in the long run about how they're going to be able to help your defense or help your team.
Thank you, Leslie. I always appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Yes, good evening, Coach Frazier. George Radney, Challenger Community News. Congratulations on another big win yesterday.
Thank you, George. Thank you.
Yes, and my question is, now you're going up against a Colts team that like to run the ball. Do you go a little differently against a team like this that really likes to play like a smash mouth type of football game?
Well, we played some pretty good run offenses over the course of the year, and it's the same things I was mentioning to John. You just got to do a good job of being able to play gap sound and tackle, and it really doesn't change. This is a good offensive line, good running backs, Hall of Fame quarterback, but the way to defend it is to be where you're supposed to be and tackle well and get 11 people around the football, but not give up explosives either in the passing game when people are trying to stop the run. So it really doesn't change how we approach things. It's just a matter of how good is our preparation during the week, knowing what we expect to see on Saturday, how well we prepare during the week. That'll determine what type of success we have as a defense.
Yes, and you just mentioned this is where wrapping up is very important. You have to wrap up Jonathan Taylor. He's almost like a Derrick Henry type back, but a little different, but very powerful. He seems to like to run in between the tackles. Yeah,
seems that he prefers to run inside more than getting on the edge, but he's capable of getting on the edge as well. So, but he's definitely a power back who can run through tackles, but has the ability to make you miss also. So he's got, everything you need to be a really good back in our league. And, we're going to have to do a good job of wrapping up, as you said.
And last question, Vernon Butler Jr., how would you characterize his play yesterday?
He did a lot of good things for us. I mean, he played really hard and had a chance to get in on some plays. Now, we limited his play in the second half. We pulled him back a little bit. But in the time that he was on the field, he was able to get some pressure on the quarterback, show some good agility, had a few tackles for us. I thought he played well for us throughout the game.
Great. Thank you very much, and good luck with the playoff game coming up.
Thank you.
Coach Frazier, Mookie Harkins, Wellful Sports 1080. How you doing today, sir?
Doing well. How are you, Mookie?
I'm doing great. And, your team yesterday, I know you was very impressed to have them in the first half at 0% on third down, 21% for the entire game. Your defense is out there, getting turnovers, creating points off those turnovers, quality depth. Something I talked to Coach McDermott about, but the level of play Harrison Phillips has been playing late. Care to talk about, how he's been playing for you, Coach?
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed Harrison out. It's been a challenge coming off of that injury that he suffered a season ago. And so it's been a process, man. And there were times, as you know, where he didn't dress for ball games as we were trying to work through some of the injury issues that he's had and getting him back to 100%. And he was a pro throughout it all. And when his number was called again, I think the New England game is when we got him back, the first New England game, got him back in the lineup, and he went out and made some really good plays for us, and that's continued throughout. And just a credit to Harrison to not mope and get his head down, and then when your number's called, you don't go out there and perform well because your attitude is so bad. And that's the opposite of who Harrison is. He prepared as if he was going to play, and so when his number was called, he performed at a high level. He's dressed ever since and really played well for us when he's gotten a chance to get in the ball game. So credit to Harrison for sure.
No doubt, Coach. And, we all know that Philip Rivers can, gunsling out with the best of them. But the heart and soul of this defense is those two. The offense is those running backs, man. Naeem Hayes with 65 catches. He's 80% when targeted. Then on the flip side, you do have Jonathan Taylor, who's averaging 20 carries and 125 yards in the past 6 games. So what are some of the challenges do those two guys, impose up against your defense, Coach?
Well, if you don't tackle well, if you don't supposed to be gap-wise, you can see what can happen. You watched yesterday's game. One guy misses a tackle or one guy's not where he's supposed to be in a gap, and it's easily a 50 or 60-yard run with both of those backs. So you're right. They're outstanding backs, and they can catch the football out of the backfield as well. So we're going to have our hands full being able to stop their run game.
Absolutely, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, Leslie, that's all for today, man.
All right, we'll see you. Thank you.
Yep.